The night begins without hurry. The air drifts softly over the desert, carrying the faint scent of dust and cool stone. Above, the stars unfold in silence, scattering their pale light across the endless horizon. The world seems to have paused, holding its breath beneath the slow shimmer of the Milky Way. In this stillness, the Great Pyramid rises, not as a monument of power, but as a quiet mountain of patience. Its edges blur into the darkness, its form softened by thousands of nights like this one. The desert around it sleeps, but the pyramid does not. It stands as it has always stood, watching time move around it like wind over water. Each block holds its own memory of sunlight, of storm, of stillness. Together they breathe, not in rhythm with the world, but in their own timeless pulse. The long, steady exhale of Earth remembering itself. There are no sounds of cities here, no echoes of the living world. Only the whisper of sand shifting against stone and the slow turning of the sky. The air feels ancient, untouched, the kind that seems to remember every age that has passed. It holds the faint heat of yesterday's sun, the cool calm of 1,000 forgotten evenings. As you listen, you may notice that the silence has weight. It presses gently but firmly, like a hand guiding you toward rest. The world has grown still enough for you to feel its balance. Even the stars seem to move slower here, their light stretching softly across the surface of time. The pyramid remains beneath them, anchored not to a single moment, but to all of them at once. Breathe with it now, slow, unforced. Let the desert's calm settle through you like sand falling in water. The noise of the day fades far behind. Every thought grows lighter, every sound softer. The Great Pyramid waits in the distance, patient and eternal, a shape older than memory, yet still alive in its silence. This is where the story begins. Not with discovery or conquest, but with stillness. A journey not into the past, but into the quiet rhythm of time itself. The Great Pyramid does not ask to be understood. It simply invites you to listen, to rest, and to breathe with the slow heartbeat of the earth. The night over Giza. Night unfolds over the Giza Plateau with the slow grace of a breath drawn by the earth itself. The horizon fades into a pale blur of sand and sky, and the wind that once swept across the dunes now lies still, resting like a tired traveler at the end of its journey. Stars rise quietly, one after another, until the sky is heavy with their calm persistence. They lean closer, casting faint, silver light over the vast faces of limestone, each block touched by the glow, as if the heavens are tracing the memory of their own creation. The Great Pyramid stands in the center of this stillness, anchored yet ethereal, its shadow stretching deep and endless into the cool air. Around it, the desert exhales and sinks into sleep, every dune folding into the next, holding within its curves the rhythm of 1,000 forgotten winds. The world here is not empty. It is simply at peace, alive in its quiet, breathing in the same slow pulse that has moved through this land for 5,000 years. The air carries the scent of dust, of old heat, and something older still, a weightless quiet that feels both immense and kind. No voices move through this space, no sound of steps, no echo of labor or prayer. What remains is only balance. The stones gleam faintly beneath the moon, patient in their endurance, unmoved by time or attention. Each one holds a piece of sunlight from the day before, a soft residue of warmth now fading into the cool breath of the night. Together they form not just a monument, but a state of being, a geometry of stillness that holds the desert in suspension. It feels as though the pyramid has become lighter, less a structure, and more a thought suspended in the air, a single idea that the earth once had and never let go. Above, the stars seem endless, but their light falls gently, with care. The sky and the pyramid mirror each other, both vast, both silent, both built from endurance. The thin line of the horizon disappears, and the boundary between stone and air blurs until there is no distinction between earth and sky. It is as if the pyramid itself has become part of the constellations, its peak pointing toward the same eternal rhythm that governs the movement of the stars. You can almost imagine that they are speaking to one another, the stone and the starlight, exchanging their ancient understanding of patience. In this hour, nothing rushes. Even light seems to travel slower, stretching across the desert in long, deliberate strokes. The temperature drops with the deepening night. The desert cools, and the sand hardens beneath its own weight. A faint mist gathers near the ground, shimmering with starlight. The wind, now just a whisper, glides across the plateau and circles the pyramid's base, tracing the same path it has followed for centuries. It carries with it a sound that is almost too quiet to hear. The soft shifting of grains, the echo of their movement against stone. If you listen closely, the desert seems to hum, a low tone that exists somewhere between silence and thought. This hum is not a sound but a presence, a vibration of stillness, a reminder that even what does not move is never truly still. In the distance, the dunes stretch toward the horizon like frozen waves. Their forms rise and fall with a quiet rhythm, each one catching light at a slightly different angle. The pyramid towers above them, but not in dominance, rather in harmony. It belongs to this landscape as naturally as the sand itself. Its edges have softened under the touch of centuries, its color changed by wind and moonlight. The Great Pyramid does not fight time, it absorbs it. It has learned the art of remaining through surrender. In its stillness, it becomes both ancient and immediate, both memory and presence. If you were to stand here now at the foot of the pyramid, you would feel the air pressing gently against your skin. Not heavy, not warm, but aware. The silence is so deep that it becomes a kind of texture. You could close your eyes and still feel the shape of the monument before you, sense the slow rhythm of its breath within the desert's calm. There is no need for words, no reason for thought. The body understands what the mind cannot, that time here moves differently. It stretches and folds upon itself, as if the centuries are not passing but resting, layered like the stones of the pyramid itself. The night continues, soft and unbroken. The moon rises higher, and its reflection slides along the smooth angles of limestone, tracing their precision with ghostly light. Each face of the pyramid glows for a moment, then darkens as the moon shifts. Shadows move with quiet purpose, crossing from one edge to another like drifting memories. You realize that even in stillness, everything here changes, slowly, invisibly, but inevitably. This is the nature of the desert and of time, to alter without disturbance, to shape without force. The Great Pyramid accepts this truth fully. It is both the shape and the silence that holds the shape. Far above, the stars continue their slow arc, ancient companions that have watched over this place since its birth. They move across the sky with the same patience the pyramid shows the earth. Between them lies an understanding that endurance is not about resisting change, but about becoming part of it. The desert, the sky, the stone, all are bound by this quiet agreement. There is no separation between creation and decay, between presence and memory. Everything breathes the same long, steady rhythm. As the night deepens, the pyramid seems to rise higher, not by growth, but by perspective. The darkness around it grows softer, almost luminous, and the lines of its form blur into the fabric of the stars. The desert cools to stillness, the dunes flatten beneath the weight of calm air, and for a moment it feels as though the entire world has stopped moving. In this silence, the Great Pyramid is not just an ancient monument. It is the embodiment of time itself, the quiet certainty that everything which endures does so through balance. And so the night continues its slow unfolding. The stars hold their places, the sand holds its breath, and the Great Pyramid remains, as it always has, perfectly still, perfectly certain, the silent thought of the earth made visible. Beneath its calm geometry, the desert dreams. It dreams of wind, of sunlight, of hands that built and vanished. But the pyramid does not dream. It simply is, steady, eternal, and at peace with the infinite. The silence of eternity. No voices move through this place now. The air has forgotten sound. No footsteps, no echoes of labor or prayer disturb the vast calm that fills the corridors. The Great Pyramid stands as a chamber of breath held for 5,000 years, its silence older than language, older than thought. Inside, the air rests in its own still gravity, untouched, unmoving, unchanged. It carries a faint scent of dust and age, not decay but endurance, the fragrance of something that has learned to exist without alteration. Within these walls, time has lost its meaning. The pulse of centuries does not enter here. The air itself has settled into a permanent pause. It is the breath of the earth drawn once and never released. The stillness is not emptiness, it is full, almost tangible. It presses lightly against the skin, hums quietly within the stone. Each corridor seems to listen, as though the structure itself is aware of its own endurance. The blocks, set one upon another with such precision, hold the memory of touch, not the names of those who built them, but the warmth of their work, absorbed and fossilized in the cold surface of limestone. The silence here is not the absence of life, it is the presence of everything that once was. The air remembers what it has seen, even if it cannot tell it. And so, what remains is not mystery, but peace, the calm that comes when even memory has stopped moving. Outside, the desert hums softly, a low vibration that never quite reaches inside. Within the pyramid, there is only still air, sealed like a heartbeat frozen in stone. No breeze dares to enter, no grain of sand slips through the narrow passages. The weight of the structure holds everything in place, the past, the present, the faint possibility of the future. This is not a tomb, nor a monument, nor a relic of devotion. It is a pause in existence itself, an intersection where motion surrenders to patience. The pyramid does not wait for anything, it simply continues, carrying its silence through the centuries with effortless calm. If you listen long enough, you may begin to sense a rhythm, not a sound, but a presence. A faint vibration moving through the walls, through the floor, through the bones of the air. It is the quiet movement of stability, the subtle conversation between weight and stillness. The stones speak to one another in frequencies too low for ears to hear. Their dialogue has continued for millennia, uninterrupted, unbroken. It is not a story but a balance, an understanding between gravity and time. To stand within this stillness is to step outside of the human scale. The heart slows, the breath lengthens, the body learns the rhythm of the pyramid, slow, certain, unending. Light rarely enters these chambers. What little there is falls softly and remains suspended, unable to reach the corners. It does not travel, it hovers like dust that refuses to settle. The walls absorb it until the glow becomes part of the air itself. a dim, timeless hue. Shadows do not move here. They stay where they were cast long ago when the last flame was extinguished. This is the kind of darkness that is not absence, but completion. The kind that holds what light cannot express. It feels alive, vast and endless, yet gentle enough to cradle you if you let it. The silence becomes a sound, the darkness becomes a vision, and in that quiet union, you understand that this space was never meant to be entered. It was meant to be known only by stillness. Beyond the walls, the wind sweeps over the plateau, but the pyramid does not stir. Its silence is deeper than weather, deeper than erosion or ruin. It has survived storms, droughts, wars, and the slow rearrangement of civilizations, not by strength, but by composure. It endures the way the horizon endures, by existing beyond comparison. The pharaohs may have imagined it as their monument, the archaeologists may have studied it as their mystery, but the pyramid belongs to neither. It belongs to the planet, to the quiet cycles of heat and cold, to the deep patience of the Earth's crust. It is less a creation than a continuation, a mountain of intention shaped into geometry. The air within these stones is not dead, it is resting. It holds the same molecules that brushed against the workers who once shaped these corridors. It remembers the sound of copper on rock, the sighs of men beneath the sun, the first gust of wind that passed through the finished passageway. But time has folded those moments so tightly that they no longer separate. Everything here exists at once, the making, the resting, the forgetting. The silence of the pyramid is not the end of sound, but its perfection. Every noise that has ever touched it has been absorbed, refined, and returned as quiet. What remains is harmony, a stillness that no chaos can disturb. When you breathe here, you are not alone. The air you draw in has lingered for ages, circling in the same space, carrying the faint trace of every century it has passed through. You inhale the same stillness that once surrounded the builders, the same air that cooled their hands, the same calm that has hovered undisturbed ever since. The pyramid does not change your breath, it slows it, softens it, returns it to balance. You begin to match its rhythm without realizing it, your heartbeat aligning with the stone's timeless patience. It feels as though the body becomes part of the structure, another layer in the long, unbroken composition of endurance. Outside, the stars drift above the horizon, turning slowly, their movement unnoticed within this enclosure of silence. The sky has changed countless times since the first night the pyramid saw starlight, but inside no change has ever reached. Here the stars and the stone are one, both beyond decay, both older than the names given to them. The silence inside the pyramid is the same silence that exists between constellations, the same calm that holds galaxies in place. It is a reflection of cosmic order drawn down into the shape of the Earth. To stand here is to stand within the heartbeat of the planet, steady and eternal. And so the pyramid continues its quiet existence, untouched and untroubled. The air inside remains still, the corridors dark, the balance perfect. Outside, civilizations move like clouds, forming and dissolving, leaving no mark. Inside there is no time, only equilibrium. The Great Pyramid does not need to speak. Its silence has already said everything. That permanence is not an act of defiance, but of surrender. The world changes, but here, the breath of eternity remains. The geometry of patience. Within the deep silence that lingers beneath the stars, the Great Pyramid becomes more than stone. It is an arrangement of calm, a geometry shaped not by ambition, but by understanding. The stones align not for glory or worship, but for peace. Each block, immense and deliberate, rests exactly where it was meant to be, its weight shared perfectly among the others. There is no strain, no imbalance, no sign of decay. The pyramid endures not because it resists time, but because it accepts it. It is patient as gravity, calm as distance, existing in harmony with the slow pulse of the earth. When the world beyond shifts, erodes, or burns, the pyramid remains unchanged, not through defiance, but through stillness. It knows the secret rhythm of survival, to hold rather than to move, to breathe rather than to claim. If you walk slowly along its base, each step brings you face to face with the precision of ancient thought. The stones are too vast to see as pieces of a whole, and yet together they form something seamless. No space lies between them. Even after thousands of years, the edges have not drifted apart. They were not placed in haste. They were arranged with an attention that feels almost infinite. You can feel it in the air around the stones, that quiet intelligence of patience. It is not the kind of patience born of waiting, but of being, a presence so complete that it no longer needs to prove itself. The builders of this monument may have vanished, their names lost in the long sands of time, but what they created was not a message. It was a state of equilibrium. The pyramid does not measure time as humans do. It does not count the days or fear their passing. It does not look forward or back. Instead, it holds time as it holds air, lightly, without grasping. The centuries rest upon its surface like dust, and it allows them to stay, then fade without resistance. When you stand near it, you begin to feel that same detachment. The idea of before and after begins to dissolve. The night stretches wider. The stars above no longer seem far away, and the earth beneath your feet feels unshaken, steady, quiet. The pyramid teaches without words that endurance is not about permanence, but about the absence of fear. It endures because it has learned how to exist without tension. Each layer rises upon the one before it, a repetition of balance. The angles are perfect, the faces aligned with the directions of the world, north, south, east, and west, each one facing the infinite with the same composure. It is said that the pyramid is aligned to true north within fractions of a degree, an achievement so precise that even modern instruments struggle to match it. But to those who look closely, the perfection is not mathematical, it is emotional. The pyramid feels correct, not because of numbers, but because of stillness. Every proportion seems to echo a greater rhythm, the turning of the stars, the slow drift of continents, the silent breath of wind moving across the dunes. It is not architecture, it is understanding given shape. When the first light of dawn touches its apex, the stone glows faintly, a golden breath before the day fully forms. The desert brightens, the shadows retreat, and the symmetry of the monument reveals itself once more. The light travels downward, tracing each level one by one until it reaches the sand and vanishes. The pyramid reflects the sun not as a mirror, but as a companion. It accepts light the same way it accepts darkness, evenly, without preference. Day and night are equals here. Time passes across its surface like a tide across the shore, leaving no mark. And as you watch the sunlight move over its face, you understand that this is not merely endurance, it is harmony. The stones are not against time, they are part of it. Step closer and place your hand upon the surface. The texture is rough, uneven, but beneath it lies an order so exact it feels almost alive. The warmth of the day still lingers in the rock, fading slowly as night returns. You can sense how the stone remembers, not with thought, but with temperature, with vibration, with quiet density. Every block holds within it the echo of placement, the moment it found its resting point, Together they form a pattern of trust, a structure that has never needed to be repaired, never needed to be defended. It stands because it knows how to be still. The pyramid does not fight the desert, it becomes it. The wind that once tried to shape it now moves around it in deference. The sand that once buried it now gathers respectfully at its base. Nature and stone have reached an agreement, an invisible pact of balance. Inside, the geometry continues in darkness. The narrow corridors stretch with perfect proportion, every angle meeting its opposite in quiet agreement. The air inside is cool and slow, heavy with age but clear in its stillness. No sound lingers here for long, even whispers dissolve. The chambers seem to fold space itself, turning narrow passage into infinite depth. Within these quiet walls, mathematics becomes something more human, the discipline of patience. Each stone holds its weight with care, each line meeting the next in pure intention. The builders did not carve for decoration or beauty. They carved for alignment, for balance, for the soft perfection that only calm minds can create. The deeper you move, the more you sense that this monument is not a construction, but a meditation. A long, unbroken breath turned to stone. Outside, the stars move, and yet from here, they seem fixed, as if the sky itself has aligned with the pyramid's calm. The constellations drift across the heavens, repeating the same paths that guided the hands of the builders thousands of years ago. Each rotation of the earth, each slow turn of light and shadow reaffirms the pyramid's purpose, to stand as a mirror of the universe, a steady shape within the chaos of change. The geometry of patience is not measured in angles or lines, it is measured in endurance. The stones do not hurry, the desert does not demand. Everything here moves in agreement, in rhythm, in quiet repetition. The pyramid's patience is infinite because it does not know itself as patience. It does not strive to be eternal. It simply exists within eternity. The more the world outside changes, the more its meaning deepens. Empires have risen, faiths have spread, names have been forgotten, but the geometry remains untouched and complete. It has no beginning and no end, only layers that rise toward a single point. A unity of all directions, a perfect stillness in the midst of time's motion. It is not the ambition of man that made this structure last, it is the humility of the earth. The builders, whether they knew it or not, were not reaching upward but inward, aligning human work with the calm order of the cosmos. As night deepens once more, the pyramid becomes part of the sky again. The wind moves softly, the sand shifts, and the stars draw their slow arcs above. The light fades from its surface until it becomes almost invisible, absorbed into the vastness it reflects. And in that darkness, the geometry of patience reveals its final lesson, that the truest endurance is not survival, but acceptance. The Great Pyramid endures not to defy time, but to become part of it. Every stone, every angle, every silent chamber holds this truth, that peace is not the absence of movement, but the perfect balance within it. The thought of stillness. Each face of the Great Pyramid turns toward the heavens, its angles shaped not by ambition, but by understanding. The monument does not seek eternity, it already belongs to it. It stands not as a claim of mastery over the earth, but as an act of alignment with it, a meeting point between matter and quiet. When the wind rests, when the stars rise, the pyramid becomes part of both, an intersection where weight and emptiness agree. Its stillness is not the absence of motion, but the perfection of it, the kind that moves too slowly to be seen, yet never stops. From a distance, its symmetry appears absolute. Each side faces one of the four directions with unwavering precision, a calm that seems older than calculation. The lines that shape its edges are not sharp, but patient, drawn by the same steady rhythm that governs the stars. If you watch long enough, you can almost feel it breathing, a slow, silent exchange between stone and sky. Its geometry feels inevitable, as if the earth itself decided that this was how it must rise, this was the form it must take to express balance. The monument does not imitate nature, it completes it. Inside, the air is alive with quiet. The sealed corridors hold a sound too deep for hearing, a vibration, a hum that exists beyond awareness. It is the resonance of the pyramid remembering itself, the voice of stone speaking in frequencies of patience. The air feels heavy yet clear, touched only by time. Every surface absorbs sound, every corner holds its shape with deliberate care. Nothing echoes, nothing lingers. This silence is not emptiness, it is the presence of everything that has endured. The air that fills these halls is ancient, a perfect witness that has never changed. It does not move, it simply exists, a part of the pyramid's endless breath. The monument's stillness does not resist change, it transforms it. The light that touches its surface becomes softer, the sound that reaches it dissolves. Even the heat of the desert fades when it meets the cool logic of its shadow. The pyramid takes everything the world offers, wind, sun, time, silence, and turns it into order. Its balance is not learned, but remembered, as though the stones themselves knew their places before they were ever lifted. When viewed closely, the precision of its form becomes humbling. Each block rests within the next, as if guided by invisible hands, by a patience that exceeds the reach of human will. It is not the perfection of engineering, but the perfection of surrender, the act of allowing things to become exactly what they are meant to be. In the still air, there is a faint sense of language, not words, but connection. The monument seems to speak through its silence, to say that balance does not need to be declared, only lived. The faces of the pyramid reflect the heavens not as a mirror, but as understanding. The stars drift above, ancient and unmoved, and their light folds gently into the stone, disappearing without trace. The pyramid receives it all without resistance, without greed. What shines upon it becomes part of its quiet. The universe touches its surface and finds no boundary there, only continuity. As you walk around its base, the world seems to change pace. The air grows slower, the light softer. Even your breath begins to match the rhythm of the pyramid. Deep, calm, circular. The stillness is contagious. You feel the weight of your body align with the ground, and the noise of thought begins to fade. What remains is the simple awareness of being here, now, within the company of something that has existed longer than memory. The Great Pyramid does not speak to your mind, it speaks to your pulse. Its symmetry draws you inward toward quiet recognition that stillness is not something to achieve, but something to return to. From its peak, invisible in the dark, the pyramid's geometry points into the expanse, its summit aligning with stars that have shifted only slightly in all of recorded history. The constellations drift, but the monument remains an anchor for the heavens. It is not a bridge between worlds, but a reflection, the Earth's way of mirroring the calm perfection of the sky. Through centuries of change, through the fall of empires and the passing of ages, this alignment has remained true. The monument does not chase eternity, it embodies it. It reminds the universe that order still exists, even when everything else moves toward decay. When the moon rises over Giza, its light glides slowly down the limestone faces, tracing every line with care. For a brief moment, the pyramid seems to glow from within, its edges softened, its core illuminated by quiet intention. The light fades, but the image remains in the mind, the sense that you have not witnessed illumination, but remembrance. The monument glows not because of light, but because of awareness. It reflects nothing, it simply allows existence to flow through it. Time passes differently here. Hours fold into seconds, and seconds stretch into centuries. You begin to understand that the pyramid's stillness is not a pause, but an ongoing act. It holds the same truth that the stars hold, that endurance is not achieved by standing against change, but by becoming one with it. Each face of the monument turns toward a different horizon, yet each reflects the same calm. North, south, east, west, the directions mean nothing here. All points meet at the same center, a single axis of quiet that binds the structure together. That is its thought, the stillness that lives not in stone, but in balance. When the night deepens, the pyramid fades back into the desert, its presence reduced to outline, its form to memory. But the stillness remains. It drifts through the sand, through the windless air, through the light that no longer falls. It moves without motion, travels without distance. The pyramid's geometry becomes the landscape, and the landscape becomes the pyramid. There is no longer distinction between them, only the quiet truth that what endures does so by dissolving boundaries. The Great Pyramid is not waiting. It does not hope or dream or remember. It simply continues, steady, unspoken, unbroken. It stands as thought made solid, patience turned to form. Its stillness does not demand attention, yet it receives it endlessly. The stars turn, the sands shift, the centuries unfold, and still it remains, humming softly in the rhythm of existence. What endures is not ambition, but symmetry, the quiet conversation between form and emptiness, between the known and the infinite. The hidden balance. The Great Pyramid stands beneath the endless turning of the sky, not as a challenge to time, but as its companion. It does not resist decay, it receives it gently, transforming erosion into memory, weather into rhythm, and the passing of ages into rest. The winds come, soft and patient, brushing over its vast faces. Grain by grain they carry away the smallest traces of its skin, yet the form remains untouched. The shape holds, the order endures. The pyramid seems to understand what the world has long forgotten, that to last, one must allow change to happen without resistance. It has learned to turn time itself into stillness, to let the movement of years polish its silence instead of breaking it. What might seem like loss is, for the pyramid, only another kind of balance. When you stand before it, you can feel this quiet exchange between permanence and impermanence. The edges that once caught the first light of creation are softer now, but not diminished. Their clarity has deepened into calm. The lines no longer cut through space, they blend with it, as though the air and stone have agreed to share form. The pyramid breathes with the desert. By day, it absorbs heat until it glows from within, and by night, it releases it slowly back to the sky. This cycle, repeated over 5,000 years, is not erosion, it is conversation. The stone listens to the sun, the air listens to the stone, and together they speak the slow, unbroken language of balance. Its endurance is not defiance, it does not stand against nature, but within it. Each grain of sand that shifts at its base, each gust of wind that slides along its sides, becomes part of its equilibrium. It takes everything that arrives, the heat, the dust, the years, and turns them into stillness. The pyramid's strength lies not in resistance, but in inclusion. Nothing that touches it remains separate. Everything becomes part of its calm. Even decay finds a place here, settling softly like dust upon a shelf that never collapses. It absorbs the inevitable and turns it into permanence. The pyramid is not fighting the future. It is the future, the quiet proof that harmony outlives all conflict. At night, the air cools and the desert expands, the sky stretches wide above, and the stars return to their ancient paths. Each face of the pyramid catches faint light, a reflection so subtle it seems imagined, yet it is real. The delicate shimmer of equilibrium. The monument stands perfectly aligned with the four directions of the world, an axis that connects heaven and earth. It gives the planet a center, a still heart around which everything else moves. The longer you gaze, the more you sense this balance, not physical but spiritual, a harmony that does not need belief to exist. The pyramid does not claim to hold meaning, it simply is meaning, expressed in silence. In the quiet of its chambers, this order deepens. The walls absorb centuries without sound, keeping their temperature, their weight, their intention. Within, the air is almost holy in its patience, not because of worship, but because of endurance. You can feel how everything that enters this place slows down. Sound fades before it begins. The body grows lighter, the breath longer. Even thought becomes still. The pyramid's hidden balance is not mechanical, not mathematical. It is emotional, almost human. It feels like standing within the breath of the world itself, as though the planet exhales once every 1,000 years, and you have stepped into that single moment between inhale and release. The balance here is not visible, it is sensed. You notice it in the way the shadows fall evenly across the stones, how the air never feels heavy or cold, but simply correct. The design, though ancient, is alive in its perfection. Every corridor leads nowhere and everywhere at once, each chamber both open and closed, every passage ending in a silence that feels intentional. The builders did not carve to impress, they carved to equalize, to turn chaos into harmony, motion into form, and time into stillness. What they left behind is not a mystery to be solved, but a lesson to be remembered, that beauty is not created by control, but by acceptance. Outside, the sands shift endlessly, sculpting new shapes only to erase them again. Dunes rise and vanish, leaving no trace. Yet the pyramid remains, unmoved, unmoving, the one line that time cannot blur. It does not deny impermanence, it frames it. The desert's motion only defines its stillness more clearly. When storms sweep across the plateau, the pyramid disappears into dust, only to emerge again as the air clears, as if reborn. Every storm, every erosion, every passing shadow becomes part of its continuity. It teaches, silently, that the center of the world is not the place that resists, but the place that receives. If you walk far enough from it, into the dark plain where the stars meet the sand, you can still feel its gravity. Not physical, but something subtler, like the steady pull of balance. Even unseen, the pyramid anchors the horizon. It holds the desert steady, keeps the winds slow, keeps the silence pure. Perhaps this is its truest purpose. Not to remind us of power or death, but of the quiet equilibrium that holds everything together. It is not a monument to ambition, but to harmony. The moment where the world stops trembling and simply breathes. In its silence, the Great Pyramid keeps the planet steady. It stands at the midpoint between what has passed and what will come, absorbing both into its calm. Every civilization that has touched it has left, but it has not changed. The air it holds is ancient, yet always new. The stone remembers the heat of forgotten suns and the touch of countless moons. It remembers the first wind that crossed its face and the last voice that echoed in its corridors. All of it remains here, condensed into stillness. This is not memory in the human sense, but balance, the perfect arrangement of what was and what will be, existing at once. At dawn, when the first light reaches its apex, the pyramid glows faintly, not with color, but with composure. The world awakens, the wind rises, the dunes begin to move again, and yet the monument stays at peace. It has outlasted ambition, defied ruin, and transcended purpose, not through might, but through rest. The Great Pyramid asks for nothing, it claims nothing, it gives the world a center, a point of quiet gravity in the turning of time. And as the sun climbs higher, the pyramid fades gently into the brightness of morning, still there, still whole, still keeping the balance no eye can fully see. The cycle of light. Far beyond the horizon, where the desert and the sky meet in quiet agreement, the first trace of dawn begins to return. It does not rush or announce itself. It moves softly, a whisper of gold that threads its way through the pale blue of early morning. The Great Pyramid waits, as it always has, untouched by expectation. The light reaches its apex first, a single point at the summit that catches the day before the rest of the world. The glow that follows is not sudden, not brilliant. It spreads with the same patience as the stone itself, slow and weightless, more like the memory of light than the thing itself. The surface warms by degrees, every line gathering a soft edge, every face beginning to wake. The pyramid glows not because of the sun's power, but because of its calm recognition of it. It remembers this ritual, the touch of light, the slow retreat of shadow, repeated for 5,000 years without a single interruption. The light begins its descent, tracing the long slope of limestone, the same motion it has performed every day since the world first gave it form. Each block receives it in silence, accepting warmth without resistance. The glow moves downward like a slow river, flowing across the geometry of patience, catching in the tiny grooves where wind and time have written their invisible script. There is no haste, no moment of triumph. It is simply the continuation of a promise that night will always yield and day will always return. The pyramid does not celebrate the light, it welcomes it, folds it into its being as part of the endless rhythm it has long understood. All around, the desert begins to stir. The air shifts. The faint scent of stone, cool and ancient, rises with the warmth of the new day. Wind glides along the base of the pyramid, careful not to disturb its stillness, brushing instead across the dunes. Grains of sand lift and fall, moving in patterns that echo the slow breathing of the earth. This is how time resets itself here, not with clocks or calendars, but with the rhythm of light and shadow, the wind, the sand, the stone. Each plays its role in this quiet choreography. Nothing seeks attention. Everything participates in balance. The Great Pyramid does not resist the coming of the sun. It yields to it, absorbs it, and lets it go again. The light enters the day as gently as breath returning to lungs that never forgot how to inhale. The stone glows from within, not as reflection, but as memory. You can almost feel it, remembering every dawn that came before, every pale horizon, every quiet awakening of air, every day that began the same way and ended the same way. It is not routine, it is devotion without effort, a harmony without command. The pyramid is not performing for the world, it is existing with it, turning the passing of time into the art of remaining. As the light expands, shadows shorten, folding inward along the slopes. The apex blurs against the brightening sky until it becomes indistinguishable from the air itself. The pyramid, once an outline of darkness, now dissolves into radiance. Yet even in this brightness, it remains quiet, restrained. It never competes with the sun, never glows beyond its measure. It receives enough to sustain and nothing more. Its calm teaches something simple, that brilliance is not power, but acceptance. The monument's patience becomes visible in this hour. The way it holds light is the same way it holds time, gently, evenly, without desire. In the surrounding sands, the marks of the night begin to fade. The small footprints of desert creatures, the thin trails carved by the wind, the subtle traces of motion all disappear beneath the new warmth. The wind rises again, soft but deliberate, smoothing the dunes, erasing what little the night had written. The surface of the desert returns to its unbroken calm, as if the world prefers to forget its own movement. The pyramid, untouched, remains the only witness. It has seen this cycle repeat through empires, seasons, storms, and centuries. Each morning the same, each sunrise a continuation rather than a beginning. The repetition is not monotony, it is perfection. The rhythm itself is the meaning. Inside, the chambers remain untouched by the day. The light does not enter, yet its presence is felt. The air within warms by a fraction, the vibration of the outer stone carrying inward like a distant heartbeat. The silence deepens, as though the darkness is aware of what occurs above. In this balance between light and shadow, the pyramid maintains its equilibrium, part illuminated, part hidden, both whole. The builders must have known that perfection required both. Without shadow, there is no shape. Without stillness, there is no light. The Great Pyramid does not divide these forces. It joins them, turning opposition into harmony. It is not an object of worship, but of understanding. The sky above grows brighter now, and the stars fade one by one. The horizon burns with soft color, gold melting into rose, rose into the pale white of morning. The desert hums with quiet life. A single bird passes overhead, its shadow gliding across the limestone, then vanishing. The light now touches every side of the monument equally. The balance is restored, the cycle completed, yet nothing feels concluded. The pyramid holds the moment the way it holds all others, without ending it, without letting it escape. It keeps it suspended, the perfect midpoint between what was dark and what is bright. By the time the sun clears the horizon fully, the air has turned warm and translucent. The pyramid no longer glows, it radiates calm. It stands not as a monument to the past, but as a mirror of continuity. The morning has erased the traces of the night, but not its meaning. What was quiet remains quiet. What was still remains still. The world moves forward again, yet the pyramid seems untouched by direction. It does not move with time nor against it. It is the still axis around which time turns. And when you stand there watching the golden light slide across its surface, you begin to understand. This cycle is not just the passing of day into night or shadow into sun. It is the breathing of the earth itself, the long inhalation and exhalation of existence. The Great Pyramid is part of that breath, a single pause in the rhythm of forever. Each dawn repeats the same truth, that all things change, and that change itself is the balance. The light does not conquer darkness, it completes it. The wind does not erase the past, it restores it. The pyramid does not resist time, it becomes it. The breath of the world. Now the desert breathes once more. The first warmth of morning settles over the endless sands, and each grain begins to shift with a soft, deliberate rhythm. The dunes, which had slept through the long silence of the night, stir as though responding to an unseen pulse. shadows stretch and fade, redrawn by the growing light. Above them, the Great Pyramid exhales, not with sound, but with presence. Its stillness moves outward like air, filling the landscape with calm. The pyramid does not awaken because it was never asleep. It simply continues, steady as the horizon, breathing peace into a world that never stops moving. Each stone within it holds the weight of centuries. Every surface has faced the same sun, the same sky, the same recurring winds. The marks of time, softened by sand and air, have not weakened it. They have become part of its equilibrium. The monument absorbs change the way the desert absorbs heat, quietly, completely, without protest. Empires have risen around it, spoken its name, and vanished into dust, but the structure endures untouched. It does not remember them, nor does it mourn. It exists beyond the reach of ownership, beyond the notion of being conquered or reclaimed. Its silence is not emptiness, but authority, the kind that belongs to things too vast to be owned. The air around it grows warmer, shimmering with fine light. In this soft distortion, the pyramid seems to breathe. The heat rises, forming invisible currents that bend the view, making the monument appear to waver, then sharpen again, as if it were inhaling and exhaling with the planet itself. This is not imagination, it is rhythm. The same rhythm that moves the tides, that draws the wind across continents, that pulls the stars along their orbits. The Great Pyramid belongs to that rhythm, not separate from it, but synchronized with it. Its geometry is not just design, but participation, a perfect alignment of form and function with the living breath of the world. From this distance you cannot hear it, yet something within your own body responds. The heart slows, the lungs deepen, and your thoughts, once scattered, begin to quiet. The balance that the pyramid maintains outside seems to echo within you. It teaches without language that peace is not stillness alone. It is the steady continuation of all things. The sands move, the wind passes, the sun rises, and still the same harmony remains. What changes is not the essence, but the form through which it moves. Even decay here is part of renewal. Every grain that slips away from the pyramid's base becomes part of the dune that protects it. Every breeze that shapes the desert's surface helps preserve the monument's calm. The longer one observes it, the more one understands that endurance is not defiance. The pyramid has never resisted the forces of time. It has learned to flow with them. The years press down upon it like a tide, and still it stands. Not because it holds firm, but because it bends invisibly, allowing time to pass through it like wind through reeds. Its perfection lies in this understanding, that permanence is not the absence of change, but the mastery of accepting it. In this way, the Great Pyramid does not defeat erosion nor age. It transforms them into part of its stillness. As the sun climbs higher, the monument gleams faintly, its color shifting from pale gold to soft white. The light no longer reveals detail, it unites them. The individual stones fade into a single brightness, as though the pyramid itself were returning to the form of pure light. From this brilliance comes no arrogance, no demand to be noticed. It glows the way mountains do, effortlessly, by existing. The symmetry that defines its sides becomes a reflection of the greater order surrounding it. Everything in the desert, every curve of dune, every line of horizon, seems to fall into alignment with its presence. The air feels balanced, as though the planet itself adjusts to the rhythm of this single shape. In its silence lies an old lesson that peace is stronger than possession. Civilizations have built empires on conquest and memory, and each has vanished into the same wind that now moves gently across the sand. The pyramid has claimed nothing, and yet it remains. Its power is not in what it holds, but in what it allows to pass. It has outlived kingdoms, rewritten maps, and witnessed every attempt of humankind to control the earth. Yet it stands not as a monument to domination, but to patience. This patience is older than thought, older than ambition. It is the foundation beneath all existence, the quiet truth that nothing need be hurried to endure. The desert knows this too. Its vastness is not emptiness, but balance. Each grain of sand drifts where it must. Each shadow forms where it is needed. The wind writes and erases without judgment. The Great Pyramid rises at the center of this movement, a still heart within the shifting body of the world. Together they create a harmony that no age can disturb. Stone and air, form and motion, silence and sound, all breathing in unison. The pyramid's breath is the desert's breath. The desert's calm is the earth's calm. As the morning grows brighter, the world expands again. The sounds of distant life, a single bird, the rustle of air, the whisper of movement, return to the edges of hearing. Yet even these are soft, respectful, shaped by the quiet around them. The Great Pyramid remains unchanged, its symmetry whole, its presence unhurried. Time continues its passage, but here it feels circular, not linear. An eternal inhale and exhale that never ends. To watch it is to witness the still rhythm of the planet's own breath, a motion too large to perceive, but too certain to doubt. And as the desert settles once more into its steady calm, the Great Pyramid continues to breathe out silence, a silence so deep it reaches beyond centuries, carrying within it the peace of things that no longer need to become because they already are. Empires fade into dust, the wind erases the boundaries they drew, and yet this monument endures unclaimed, undisturbed, complete. It belongs not to history, but to balance itself. The quiet knowledge that patience is older than time, and that through stillness the world continues to breathe.
The enduring lesson. When the day fully returns, the desert opens its eyes once more. The light spreads across the horizon in a slow, deliberate sweep, touching the dunes, the air, and the stone that has waited through another night of silence. The Great Pyramid stands as it always has, still complete, eternal. The colors of morning unfold gently around it, soft gold at its peak, a pale shimmer along its sides, and the faint blue shadow that gathers at its base. The structure does not move, yet everything around it seems to respond. The air warms in rhythm. The wind rises with a quiet sigh, and the world begins its day as though following the monument's breath. It has no voice, yet it guides everything by existing. It does not command, it reminds. Its stillness is its language, and the lesson it speaks needs no translation. The pyramid does not tell stories. It does not recount who built it, nor why. The names of kings and the symbols of their empires have passed like clouds across its surface, leaving no trace. What remains is not narrative, but presence, a pure, unbroken awareness that time cannot erase. In this presence there is no argument, no defense. The monument teaches not through instruction, but through endurance. Every morning it wakes with the sun. Every evening it disappears into shadow. It repeats this without pause, without need of recognition. The world has tried to explain it, to claim it, to uncover its meaning, yet all explanations fade against the simplicity of what it continues to be. Balance made visible, silence made strong. The more light fills the sky, the less the pyramid seems to need it. It does not gleam for attention.
It absorbs illumination and gives it back as calm. The sun does not overpower it, it completes it. Together they form the perfect circle, one rising, one reflecting, both eternal. Around them, the desert stretches endlessly, an ocean of motionless waves. The wind drifts through this vastness, smoothing every trace of movement until the surface gleams like water. In this quiet exchange between sky and stone, you can feel the rhythm of something larger, the turning of the planet, the long heartbeat of time itself. The pyramid has learned this rhythm so well that it no longer needs to change. It has become part of the Earth's own stillness, a steady point in the constant turning of everything else.
It does not demand belief. It does not ask for reverence or proof. The pyramid exists beyond worship, beyond certainty. To stand before it is to feel both small and infinite at once. Small in the face of its scale, infinite in the recognition that you too are part of the same balance. Its silence is not distance, it is inclusion. It welcomes without word or gesture, reminding that the same stillness it holds in stone can also exist within breath, within thought, within the quiet center of being. It does not care for theories or timelines. It has outlived all of them. The arguments that surround it, how it was built, why it endures, fade into the background hum of the wind. The pyramid does not need answers. It is the answer expressed in form rather than language. Through the heat of the day, its shadow moves slowly across the sand. The sun traces its lines with the precision of memory, as though the two have always known each other. Every hour brings a shift in color, in tone, in depth, but the essence does not alter. This is the meaning of balance, to move without being moved, to change without losing what is true. The pyramid embodies this with absolute simplicity. It does not resist the day or cling to the night. It receives both equally, turning them into parts of the same silence. Its endurance is not stubbornness, but understanding. It knows, in the way that only ancient things can, that to last is not to fight time, but to flow with it. As the hours deepen, the desert grows bright and the heat intensifies, but even the light seems to soften near the pyramid. The air above shimmers with thin waves, and yet the structure appears untouched by distortion. It stands as if surrounded by its own gravity, its own temperature, its own atmosphere of calm. The sound of the wind changes as it passes, losing its edge as though silenced out of respect. The monument absorbs noise the way it absorbs light, turning motion into stillness, turning presence into peace. Everything here seems to slow, not because time stops, but because it finds its proper pace. This is the secret of the pyramid's patience. It does not seek eternity, it already exists within it. Some secrets are not meant to be opened. The sealed chambers within its core, the blank spaces between its stones, the hidden passages that lead nowhere. All these are reminders that not everything must be revealed to have meaning. The builders may have known this, crafting a structure that teaches by withholding. In their silence they offered a gift that endures far longer than explanation, the understanding that mystery is part of truth, not its absence. What remains hidden keeps the world whole. Every unopened door preserves the balance between curiosity and respect. The Great Pyramid keeps its silence not as a barrier, but as a bridge, connecting the visible and the unseen, the known and the infinite. Some truths speak only through quiet. The desert knows this. The wind carries it. The light repeats it with every dawn. The pyramid,
standing at the center of it all, translates it perfectly. It shows that stillness is not emptiness, that silence can hold meaning, that peace can exist without need of witness. In a world that moves faster with each generation, this monument teaches slowness, not as delay but as alignment. The rhythm it follows is not human time but cosmic time, the vast breath that links all things. To stand before it, to close your eyes and feel the weight of its presence, is to sense that breath moving through you too, connecting you to everything that was and everything that will be.
And sometimes the greatest wisdom is not found in knowing, but in listening, to stone, to air, to the quiet conversation of the planet as it turns beneath the sun. The Great Pyramid listens without interruption. It hears the footsteps of centuries fade and the voices of empires dissolve. It knows that sound is temporary, but silence endures. It has listened to wind and war, to rain and prayer, and through it all, it has remained unchanged. This is its final lesson, that strength is not in volume but in persistence, that truth does not need to shout to be eternal. The pyramid listens because listening is the shape of understanding. Its stillness is not absence but attention, the kind that holds the world in place.
As evening approaches again, the light begins to withdraw from its surfaces, sliding gently down its faces and disappearing into the sand. The day fades, and the same stars that watched the first builders now return to their watch. The pyramid stands as it did at dawn, still, complete, eternal. The air cools, the desert quiets, and once again the breath of the world slows into peace. What was illuminated is now shadowed, and what was shadowed will soon shine again. The cycle continues, unbroken. The monument does not age, it simply remains, and in its remaining it speaks the quiet truth that all things move, but balance endures, that patience is older than knowledge, and silence wiser than words.
The quiet continuum. When evening begins its return, the light softens again across the desert. The air cools, settling into the calm between day and night. The Great Pyramid stands at the center of this change, neither welcoming nor resisting it, only allowing. Its shadow stretches across the sand, long and slow, like a finger tracing time's familiar route. The desert listens, holding its breath. The horizon fades from gold to rose, then from rose to blue, until color itself becomes a memory. The world pauses, and in that pause, the pyramid seems to breathe again, steady and endless. The silence of night does not arrive suddenly. It unfolds layer by layer, the way thought becomes reflection. Everything softens into stillness.
In this returning quiet, the monument becomes almost invisible, merging once more with the landscape. The edges blur, the surfaces darken, and the pyramid returns to the same state it has always known. A thought within the mind of the earth. The stars begin their slow ascent, gliding above its apex with patient grace. Their movement mirrors its symmetry, each orbit a continuation of what the builders once aligned. The pyramid and the sky remain bound in the same invisible geometry, a language written in shadow and light. Here, time feels circular. The end of day is the beginning of night. The fading of one rhythm becomes the rise of another. The Great Pyramid does not measure these moments. It embodies them. The desert wind returns, carrying the cool scent of stone and memory. It moves across the plateau, gathering silence the way rivers gather light. Every breath of wind passes through centuries, whispering over grains of sand that have touched pharaohs, explorers, and the nameless. Yet nothing disturbs the pyramid's composure. It absorbs each moment as part of itself. It has become the keeper of transitions, dawn into day, day into dusk, silence into sound and back again. Each repetition adds no weight, no change. The monument accepts time as a companion, not an adversary. Through it, we begin to understand that permanence is not the absence of movement, but the ability to remain whole within it.
In the deepening dusk, shadows reclaim the stones. The pyramid seems lighter, its mass dissolving into air. It stands not as a structure, but as an idea, a meditation in form. Every angle leads inward. Every face reflects the others, creating a harmony that feels less built than discovered. The builders may have left their marks unseen, but what they achieved was a conversation with the eternal. The alignment with the stars, the proportions that match the curve of the earth, the stillness that defies gravity, all are traces of an intelligence that sought not glory, but understanding. They did not build to be remembered. They built to remember. The pyramid remembers for them, holding the rhythm of the universe within its perfect stillness.
The night grows darker, and yet there is a brightness that remains, not from the sky, but from the air itself, faintly luminous around the stone. It is the glow of balance, the quiet radiance that comes when all things are in harmony. The desert feels alive, breathing in slow measure. You can sense it, the pulse of the planet, the unspoken continuity between everything that was and everything that will be. The Great Pyramid stands at the center of that continuum, a vessel for the world's long breath. Its calm is not separate from ours, it is shared. To look at it is to feel your own heartbeat fall into rhythm with the Earth's.
As the stars climb higher, the world grows quiet once more. The sounds of movement, the wind, the shifting sand, fade into the background. What remains is the soft, unbroken hum of stillness. The pyramid stands within it like the silence between two heartbeats, holding the pause that keeps life balanced. In this vast hush, it becomes clear. The monument's endurance is not only physical, but spiritual. It reminds us that peace is not the opposite of motion, but its core. Everything that moves must rest. Everything that speaks must listen. Everything that exists must return to stillness.
Far beyond the horizon, the moon begins to rise, spreading its silver across the desert floor. The Great Pyramid catches the light at its peak, a single glint that turns into a faint glow. The rest remains in shadow. It is neither day nor night now, but something in between. A moment suspended in pure balance. The desert sleeps, but the pyramid stays awake, the one constant that links darkness to dawn. The stars drift across its edges, each one following a path measured long ago, and every line of its form seems to guide them home. This is the lesson of its endurance. That creation is not about permanence, but about returning to balance, to silence, to breath. The Great Pyramid teaches without voice. It asks for no witness, no answer. Its wisdom lies not in what it reveals, but in what it continues to withhold. Every hidden chamber, every sealed passage, every silent wall serves as a reminder that some truths are not meant to be spoken. They are meant to be felt, through stillness, through time, through the quiet recognition of being. The monument stands as proof that even silence can teach, and that even stone can breathe.
And so the night deepens again. The stars settle into their long watch. The desert folds itself into rest, and the Great Pyramid remains as it always has, calm, precise, and eternal. It is not only a monument of the past, but the mirror of what endures.
It reflects back the truth that balance is timeless, that stillness is strength, and that the quiet breath of the world continues long after sound has gone. Now the desert is still again. The horizon has folded into darkness, and the stars have gathered quietly above the Great Pyramid, each one resting in its ancient place. The air moves only enough to remind the world that it still breathes. Around the monument, time loosens its hold. The day's heat fades from the stone, and the night takes its slow inheritance. What remains is the oldest silence, not emptiness, but fullness, a silence that carries the sound of everything that has ever lived.
The Great Pyramid stands as it always has, patient, balanced, whole. It does not mark the past, nor reach toward the future. It simply holds both in its shape. The weight of history lies lightly upon it, as if even memory knows to rest here. Every line of stone, every hidden chamber, every shadowed passage seems to hum with the same quiet truth. That endurance does not mean resistance, and that permanence is not born from strength, but from surrender. The pyramid does not stand against time, it stands with it. The two move together, indistinguishable, like breath and heartbeat.
Above, the stars turn in perfect rhythm. Their light touches the apex, faint and silver, tracing once again the invisible lines that bind heaven and earth. The same light that fell here 5,000 years ago falls still and will continue to fall long after we are gone. The pyramid receives it with the same calm acceptance it has always known. It asks for nothing. It promises nothing. Its gift is its stillness, the reminder that meaning can exist without motion, that wisdom can be silent and still be complete. If you listen closely, beyond the wind, beyond the silence, you may feel the rhythm beneath it all, the slow pulse of the earth, the quiet breath of the world. The pyramid has kept that breath alive for millennia, drawing it in through its vast stone heart, releasing it again into the desert air. It is a rhythm older than words, older than light, a rhythm that lives not in the sky or the sand, but in the spaces between. That rhythm continues now, within you too, steady and patient, asking only for stillness. So let the mind rest where the desert ends. Let thought fade into the same calm that holds the stones in place. The Great Pyramid does not demand understanding. It offers peace through presence. It tells us that all things rise, all things fall, and in between there is balance, soft, endless, and sure. And as the night deepens, the world exhales once more. The stars drift, the sands settle, and the monument sleeps beneath their quiet watch. The earth continues its long breath, and somewhere in that breath, the listener drifts too, into stillness, into silence, into the timeless calm of stone.